amazing how people show up in our lives.
Yeah.
It's a matter of accepting the help, but also it's a matter of giving back and helping others too.
Right.
It just becomes such a powerful cycle.
Hello, and welcome to Along the Way Life's Journey. I'm your host, Carl Buccellato. Let's get the next journey started. Our guest today is Dima Ghawi, a world-renowned executive coach and leadership builder. Dima is Middle Eastern in her genes, American in her heart, and global citizen in her spirit. Just the kind of person I want to know. She is a variable energy source, dynamic and effective. Dima earned her MBA at the University of San Diego and went on to build a career over 2 decades of corporate experience. She has worked across America and worldwide with a client list including the very largest and successful companies in industry. Her TED Talks are the talk of the town, and her memoir, Breaking Vases, earned numerous awards, including the Writer's Digest Grand Prize Award. Quite an achievement. Her personal motto is, feel the fear and take action. More than a slogan for her, it actually saved her life, which we'll hear more about. She enjoys travel, great restaurants, hiking, and above all, building her business. I repeat, this is a formidable woman and someone to know. Please welcome our guest, Dima Ghawi.
Hi,
Hello there.
Carl. Hello, everyone. Hi.
So nice to have you on the show. That's quite a credential, I must say. You have quite an expanse of experiences. And when I look at that and it says over 20 years, all of these contacts and corporate people and so forth, you don't look old enough to have all of that. But
Oh,
but I guess you are.
I use good creams.
I see.
hiding everything.
I see. Okay, so we're going to start right off and talk a little bit about your business experiences, and then we'll switch over to your story. I know that you travel the world over doing talks, and you're a leadership expert, and you do hire on to different companies that require your expertise to build teamwork and networks and leadership people and so forth throughout the ranks. I was in business 60 years. There were many times I could have used your help, I must say. So tell us a little bit about how that feels to be someone who's in regard like that and has to travel worldwide to fulfill the obligations. How does that feel?
Yeah, I'm following my purpose, so it feels amazing. Every morning I wake up and I'm filled with energy and I want to do more and more because I know I am aligned with what I am born to do. So the answer, it feels absolutely amazing.
Isn't that a great feeling? Somebody once said, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
I don't know about that. I work very, very, very hard. And I believe I'm the toughest boss I've ever had myself. But it's just so enjoyable and meaningful. So it keeps me energized.
Well, that's wonderful. I did watch a couple of your TED Talks. I think I mentioned that to you once before, and I was really mesmerized. You command the stage. You have a presence. You clearly have a formation of where you're going. You set up this talk cleverly, and you work your way into it. People follow along, and all of a sudden, the aha moments happen where they lift their eyebrows and they say, "Oh, that's where she's going," and it's wonderful to watch. It really is. So you're a graduate of San Diego University, and that's because you were a resident of California at a certain point in your life, I know. And I did read some excerpts from your book and your memoir, and I understand that you were brought there because you weren't a leadership guru at the time. You were a young wife, and you had to follow your husband's lead. So that's part and parcel of this slogan of yours that says, feel the fear and take action. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right. I moved to the US 26 years ago in May. So very soon, it's going to be 26 years ago. And I moved because I got married very, very young. And my husband, he was starting a business in San Diego. Thank goodness I already had my papers and my green card before that. So I automatically came to the US and I was able to go to school and I was able to do like a simple job, a teller at Bank of America. So that marriage was a traditional arranged marriage, and his mom was the one who did the whole traditional arrangement. She saw me for the first time when I was 16 years old. She was visiting my mom, and I was coming back from school. I was wearing my brown uniform as a
Mm.
16-year-old, and I walked in our home, and that's when she decided that I would be a good match for their family and a good wife for her son. She just waited until I finished high school. So when I was 19, they did the introduction, which was it's very simple, where they call and they say we would like our kids to meet each other, which means there's an introduction that's going to
Right.
happen.
Right.
And I did not want to meet him. I was resisting it because I wanted to be the first educated woman in my family. I wanted to finish my bachelor's, and I was aspiring for all of this.
Right.
My parents really wanted me to do it.
So
So
you were
I
a modern thinking young woman and you came from a traditional family and your thoughts were not even considered.
yeah. So they were not considered for me to meet. I did not even want to go out and meet this person. But then when I met him, he's just so charming. He's very handsome, and I thought I fell in love at the first sight. So, anyways, we got married, and we moved to San Diego together. That marriage, from the beginning, was very traditional, was very suppressive. I felt extremely controlled, and even simple things that people take for granted, I could not do. I could not talk to my mom more than like 15 to 20 minutes a week. And most of the time, he would be sitting next to me. He was always afraid that my family are going to influence my thinking. So he wanted to control everything. I could not have friends. I could not leave our home without permission. The only thing he agreed on, and I'm so thankful for that, my condition for that marriage was that I wanted to complete my education. I wanted to be the first educated woman in our family. And so he agreed. And thank goodness that he did, because at that time I had no control over my life. So he had full control over who I was.
Right.
So I finished my bachelor's and I became the first educated woman. I got a job with Merrill Lynch. At that time, I was making like 30,000 in San Diego, which is like barely enough for
Yeah.
anything.
Pocket change in San Diego.
Gave me something. It gave
Yeah.
me something. It helped me to build my confidence. It helped me to start creating a new vision of the life that I wanted. And I was shocked to realize that it was very different life than the life that I was living. And that's when the struggle started.
I'm sure, because here you were, a woman who was raised in a traditional family in the Middle East. What country was it from?
I was raised in Jordan. So I was
Jordan.
born in Turkey and raised in Jordan.
Okay, so you were raised in Jordan. It was all the Middle East with all the traditional rules involved. You get married, you come to San Diego, and you're in an oppressive marriage because he's controlling you. But you're a student in San Diego, in Southern California, where the rest of the world and the women are exploding with opportunity, and you're sitting there in the middle saying, "Wait, I want that too. I don't want this repression."
Yes.
But it wasn't just as easy for you to say it. You had to break away from it, didn't you?
Yeah. So after 5 years of that marriage, I had to escape. I packed and I left. And of course, it's not as easy as waking up and deciding that I was going to escape.
Sure.
It was so bad. And at that time, as I was getting closer to the day I left, I was just 24. So 24, no experience, no identity, no self-worth, always feeling afraid for consequences and the judgment of the community and
Right.
reputation. So, and I talked to my mom, and my mom said, "Don't even consider it." She's like, "You're just like every other woman. Just deal with it. Have kids, and just deal with it." So at that time, which I'm so thankful to as well. We did not have children, and I believe that saved my life as well, because I think my journey would have been very different if we had kids. Yeah. So I got into deep depression. I felt that my life was over. I had no hope for a better life, or no hope that I will ever be happy. It's just I knew it was going to get worse and worse. So I packed and I left, and then my world got shattered. My life just got it was tough.
So you not only left your husband, you were forced to leave your family.
And the entire community.
Yeah, because you were an outcast at that point, right?
Yes.
And they made some threats against you too, didn't they?
Yes. Yeah. So it's not again as easy as here in the US, where if somebody you just leave, but there you're part of a structure. You're part of a community, and that's not taken for granted. You're supposed to follow, and at least in my situation, follow, obey, live the life that was expected of me in my behavior and how I show up in the world. So to leave a marriage, whether it is abusive or not, that is not acceptable.
Yeah, right.
The my family disowned me. And my father, until now, for the last 21 years, has been threatening to have me killed. So in my small community, and it's a Catholic community, a lot of people have quick assumptions about religion.
Yeah.
It's a small Catholic community. If a woman does anything that the father, uncle, brother disagree with, they literally kill her.
It's an honor killing, they call it, right?
And they think they're bringing the honor back. There's no honor in it, but they believe they're bringing the honor back.
Yeah.
And there are still women until today in that community and across the Middle East that are being killed for similar reasons.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm alive today, 21 years later, is because I am in the US. Being here saved my life in so many different ways. Because if I was living in Jordan, I would not have left. As simple as that.
Yeah.
But then to leave and to deal with death threats and to stay alive is because I'm here. My father is in Jordan. He doesn't speak English, and he could not figure out how to navigate to get to me. Thank goodness. So I just try to be very safe and try, which is tricky now with my information online and talking about.
Yeah, you're a public figure.
My book. It's just like, it's a very, very tricky place to live in.
So when you travel globally, you have to be very cautious. I imagine you have a couple of passports for different when you travel, because that would be a security measure for you.
Well, I'm not a 007 yet.
I'm from Sicilian ancestry, so I have double citizenship. I have the American U.S. citizenship, and I have Italian citizenship, and I've had Italian passports, and I've traveled with it at certain times in the past when Americans were frowned upon. And, if you went into a country with an Italian passport, you were safe. If you went in with an American passport, you had trouble, So
I do. I have dual citizenship as well, the Jordanian and the American. I can't remember last time I used the Jordanian passport. I just use the American. I just don't go to Jordan.
Yeah.
And I have been to other countries, like I've been to Morocco, I've been to the United Arab Emirates, but not Jordan. And it's sad. I wanna go back. I wanna see my. I wanna connect with my past, but I'm okay. I'm okay to skip that for now.
And you have a full life. It's a wonderful thing that you were able to rescue yourself. I mean, here you are, a charming, smiling, self-composed woman, and you don't have to be repressed by anyone or any issues of the past. You're free to build something, and people can follow you rather than have you follow them. That's a wonderful tribute to you, to be as successful as you are with what you do. I find that remarkable. And I must go back to what you said a moment ago. I really wasn't aware that this was from a Catholic community. I just assumed there was a Muslim community, and that because you hear so much of this being in the Muslim culture, that I guess it's more cultural to the country than the individual faith. The traditions in certain countries that follow through regardless of what the faith is, and this seems to be one of those cases. And
yeah, it's beyond the country. It's truly the region.
Yeah.
But you're right. Faith has nothing to do with this. It's mentality, it's traditions, it's history, it is privilege, it is oppression, so all of that.
Yeah. I can imagine what your mother and your grandmother must have thought when you broke away. And now all these years later, they probably know of you and what you've become and where, how successful you are. And you wonder to yourself, you know, maybe they're afraid to make the move, but they're proud of you and they would wish they could have done it themselves. And who knows, those
So my grandmother passed away when I was 7 years old. My grandmother made a big influence on my life for two stories that I believe are very powerful. I'll start with a positive one. So when I was a little girl, I was 5 years old. My grandmother wanted to plant the dream of education in me early on. So we would be playing in her kitchen, and she would get a magazine and roll it and tie it with a red ribbon. And she would tell me, today we're going to play a new game. We're going to celebrate the day you graduated from college. And then
oh,
say, I made you a diploma. Just come to me when I call your name. So I was standing there. I had no idea what all of that meant. Like, what is a graduation? What is a diploma? So she would announce to a large invisible audience and tell them, help me to congratulate the next graduate, Dima Ghawi. And she would hand me the diploma and I would see the tears in her eyes. And that game we played over and over and over again because she knew that I was going to deal with suppression and control and
yeah.
people trying to influence my life not in a good direction. But she wanted me to be the first educated woman, and instead of telling me that, she made me feel it. She made me experience, made me love it, and it became a game. So that's why when I got the traditional introduction and the arranged marriage, I wanted to I wanted my education. That was a dream that was so deep in me. So that was one story. But my grandmother also was the one that warned me about the culture and the expectations. So again, we were playing in her kitchen and she got a glass vase and she told me, do you see this perfect glass? A girl is just like it. If it gets cracked for any reason, you can never fix it. You can never glue it back. And that's the one we throw in the trash. So what that meant is,
Not leading in that.
perfect, no cracks, no imperfections. And if I do anything that is unaccepted by my community,
Right.
I would thrown in the trash, which really that's like in a way what they did by disowning me and isolating themselves from me. So now when I look back and I wonder if my grandmother heard my story, which one would she choose? Would she choose the part of empowerment and education and graduation and all of this? Or would she choose the perfect Dima, the perfect, like where I should not do anything that's not accepted? And she did not realize that with my education, self-discovery, empowerment, I'm not going to be able to live with the perfect vase. I don't think she related both of them. But that's interesting. So that's my grandmother.
Yeah.
My mother, the death threats extended to her and my sister.
Wow.
And because my father could not get to me in the US, so he started physically abusing them and threatening to kill them and ordered a gun. Sometimes I wonder if it's really tradition or it's really deep mental illness that
Yeah.
has not been
Yeah.
addressed. So my mom and sister escaped. We planned. It was intense, but the three of us, we planned to have them escape. My mom left everything behind. She was 49 at that time. My sister was 17 and left everything, and moved to the US and started from scratch.
They live here in the U.S. now. They formed their own lives, I imagine, at this point. Your
Yeah.
sister, I would hope, went on to education also and a life of her own, with her own achievements and fulfillments, and perhaps even your mother as well. You're never too late to start things. I was recently told that because my producer, who I think you've met, Mike DeChico, he said to me, you're in amazement. 80 years old, you start a podcast. 2 years ago, I didn't know there was such a thing as a podcast. So never too late. As long as God gives you ability to breathe and dream, you can make something happen in life. I believe that.
I agree. So yes, my sister got educated with bachelor's and master's degree.
Wow.
She has a wonderful young son. He's 11 years old now, and his name is Alex. So Alex is the joy of our life. And when I watch my mom playing with him, She doesn't talk to him about vases and perfection. She talks to him about believing in himself, challenging himself, that we're always going to be there to support him. And it's amazing how the three of us, three women, that we were programmed early on in our lives that we're not good enough, that we should need to be followers, that there's so much expectations on how we act and how we talk and how we dress and how we engage with others. And we're perceived as worthless and even dumb. How we were able to change the future for ourselves and also now for the future generation.
And your accomplishments, I'm sure, far outpaced all of the men from your hometown who never, well, they couldn't have aspired for much more than their own regional success. But here you are, you're globally successful. You're globally renowned. You're success without having to depend on anyone but yourself and your own capabilities. Those are remarkable achievements for anyone, whether it's a woman who was taught to live a different life, or a woman who was any person, whether it's a woman or a man, raised in the United States to say, here's this big world. It's your oyster. You can do anything. Go out and make it happen. But that's what you teach people. You teach leadership. You teach command and take charge. And that's a whole different thing from following to teaching people how to be leaders.
Isn't that funny? Yeah. So now whenever I meet with CEOs or people in senior leadership role, and I'm talking to them about employee engagement, I'm talking to them about culture and diversity and inclusion, and they're listening to me and implementing what I'm recommending for them. Inside my heart, I'm laughing. If they only knew where I came from, if they only knew my story, if they would they even listen to me, right? Like, I was the one who was taught to be silent. I was taught to just obey and not have a voice and not have identity. And now I'm influencing individuals across industries and across countries. So to me, I think it is too funny because, again, I know the background. They don't know where I come from.
But your backstory's out there. Anybody who wants to read the memoir, it's there, and anyone who wants to take a moment to find out about you when they're vetting you for large positions, maybe they know more than you think. And I got to tell you, as a man who was the CEO of a couple of publicly traded companies, I built a couple of major companies, took them public. I would have known about you before I hired you in, and I would have said to myself, which I do say to myself, this is somebody who's overcome adversity. This is somebody who's taken themselves up by the bootstrap, didn't let anything hold them back. And that's the kind of person I want to teach my people how to overcome things, how to lead, how to think, how to form teams. That's a great tribute to have.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's a blessing now when I look at the story. And I believe my story is no longer just about me. It's about everybody I influence, everybody I get into with, everybody I'm hoping to inspire them to break their vases, right? To help them shatter these limitations, believe in themselves, continue to expand their potential. So there's a big purpose behind all of this.
That's the reason I wanted you on the show, because my format for this show and my theme has always been from the beginning to bring people on the show to tell their stories of inspiration and motivation, so others can hear and take it to heart, put it to work within themselves, and hopefully change their own lives, challenge them to be more than they are, And I know that many people challenged me in my life, and it made me into a bigger person, a better person, And that's why I wanted you on the show, because that's what the foundation of this show is about. And folks, I want to tell you right now, all of her contact information will be in the show notes. She's got many, many ways to contact her website, the various places, and you're going to learn all about how you can further on with her and perhaps participate in some of her programs and, maybe even hire her for your own company. You're going to find all that information will be in the show notes, so you don't have to write it down. But, I'm thrilled to have you here. I really am, because, a lot of people talk the talk. It's a different thing to walk the walk, It's a different thing to drag yourself out of things and come up to be a full person without bitterness and regret and all, pointing back, pointing fingers at people. And I don't sense that in you. I don't think you blame. I think you're a person who's grateful.
I am. I love my life. I'm grateful every single day. I also want to mention it. It's not like I was always like this. So after my divorce and after my the death threats, and I saw my mom losing everything and my sister struggling, I was angry. I was very angry. I was very upset. And I just held it all in my body because I needed to move on. I needed to survive and help my mom and sister to survive too. And then I ended up being, after a few years, I ended up being very, very, very sick because there's something which I heard and I love. It's called buried emotions never
Yeah,
die.
that's right.
So when I
They
buried
just
these,
manifest. They
they
kept build. They
manifest.
kept building.
Yeah, so I after that I realized that I need to heal and I need to forgive. And not just forgive my father and my ex-husband, I needed to forgive myself.
Right.
Because there's a lot of guilt we live in and there's a lot of programming that tells us how we should be and how we should not be.
Yeah.
I was taught early on that I needed to be obedient, that I need to be respectful of the elders. And of course, that's really good until they try to hurt me, then it's different. So for the fact that I escaped, that the fact that I thought I hurt my mom's life, and even though she's so much happier right now, but I had a lot of guilt that I had to deal with, and I needed to reflect. I needed to heal. So the healing process took over 10 years
Mm. Well,
of multiple healers, many times a week, like multiple sessions a week. And all of them were not covered by insurance. So I
yeah.
was thousands and thousands every month. And my friends would be investing for, buying homes and properties. I was investing in healing and
Yourself.
in myself. So now when I stand on the stage and share the story, I don't fall apart. But if I did in the past, first I would not be able to tell it, or I would totally fall apart. So right now I have no bad feelings towards anybody. I've done tons of work and I continue to do work to heal because there's always going to be triggers
Right.
that affect relationships, that affect
Right.
how I treat with others.
Right.
So yeah, I believe I'm in a good place, but that took a lot of work.
Yeah, nothing comes easy, especially things that are so rooted in us that they become part of our core. To break away from that, you had a traumatic experience that followed you for much of your life, but many of us have experiences from when we're young, and I said I'm 80 years old, so I'm talking about a time in America that was a lot of paradigm shifts with how people think and how they react to each other, and what we experience going through war years, what we experience going through education and building businesses and new families and having things fall apart on you. We all carry scars, and some of us carry scars that require us to forgive ourselves, as you say, because we are put into positions sometimes beyond our own control that cause us to do things that we look back on and we feel embarrassed about it, or we feel guilty about it, and we have to overcome those things. We have to recognize that, life is what it was. It doesn't have to be what it will be. You can overcome what was, and you can make what will be into something grander. And you must have had some people who assisted you along the way and inspired you and motivated you that, here you were all alone at one point. There had to be people that came alongside and offer you help of some kind. You want to tell any stories about that? Any particular?
Of course, yes. So I've been very fortunate. I've had so many people that showed up in my life and guided me. Otherwise, I would not be able to do what I've accomplished. And the biggest lesson for me is to accept help. Because initially I felt uncomfortable accepting people to help me, but I got to a point I'm like, anyone who wants to help, I'm open to it. um, I'll share with you two stories that were so powerful. One when I was dealing like in the middle of death threats, and it was from my father, but also my in-laws started threatening not to kill me, but to hurt me. So one of I at that time I was working for Merrill Lynch, and my manager discovered that I was going through this difficult situation, and she said, And at that time, I rented an apartment in a very low income neighborhood, like so bad that the neighbor underneath my home was a drug dealer.
Well,
That's all I could afford. Well, she said, "You're not going home alone today," and she said, "You're coming and staying at my home." So that was my manager. So I went to her home. She cooked me dinner. She made sure I'm safe. He actually, before that, she drove me to the police so I can make a report, and then drove after me to her home, or in front of me to her home. And she, as I mentioned, she made me dinner. She put music. Then she put a tiara on my head just to make me feel good. And that was such a safe night that I had. Like, I had good night's sleep. I felt nurtured. I felt somebody cared in the middle of the toughest time of my life. So that was one. The other one, when I was working on my master's, a professor, one of my professors, he specialized in supply chain management, and his name is Dr. Starling. He approached me and encouraged me to be the president of the student organization, which to me until today I'm so shocked, because he knew nothing about me. Of course, he was my professor. He saw that I was dedicated, I was attending class, I was trying to learn, but he didn't know I was dealing with death threats. He didn't know that I was broken inside. He didn't know that I was like barely surviving, depending on credit cards, and was so depressed. And I thanked him and I said, I don't know how to be a leader, but I committed that I would attend the events that the organization would plan, which really meant that I was really like follower.
yeah.
So every time he saw me, he would encourage me to run every single time. And I just wanted him to leave me alone and to stop asking me to run. I accepted, thinking that nobody was going to vote for me, not realizing that I got elected after. I didn't realize then that this one commitment, as terrifying as it was, and as I did not even have time for it, it would turn out to be the best experience of my life, because it started my leadership transformation
It
journey.
was a pivot point for you. Absolutely. It was a pivot point. That's great. Sometimes, God says to us, do this, and we don't pay attention. He says, do this, and we don't pay attention. He puts somebody else and tells you, do this, and we don't pay attention. And then he says, okay, I'm going to make you do it. Boom.
Yeah.
And it happens,
Yeah. So when I think about my life, if I did not agree and ran, I would not started to develop myself as a leader. I would have just graduated with an MBA and just found another job. But then, because of that, when IBM, they were hiring for a leadership development program, that they select just 8 graduates a year, 8 all from all over the US. I applied for that job and I got selected, which is so shocking for me. Because at that time I thought I am worth nothing. I'm not a good leader. And because Dr. Starling got me into a small leadership role, that made me qualified.
Right.
They talked to me, they ended up hiring me, and a whole thing just evolved. So it's amazing how people show up in our lives. Yeah. It's a matter of accepting the help, being open to it, but also it's a matter of giving back and helping others too. Right. It just becomes such a powerful cycle.
And that's part of what you do. I noted that when we talked about charities here, you said you get involved with nonprofit educational charities to help people grow. What kind of programs are you involved with?
So I'll tell you what programs I was very involved with. The last couple of years, it's slowed down a little because I've been trying to focus on my business and building the business. But before the last couple of years, I was very involved in educational programs, specifically for women. There's one nonprofit that specializes in educating women, like paying for them to go to college in Africa. So, of course, I love that. The other one is Louisiana Women in IT. So it's encouraging more women to get in IT. Even though I don't have IT background, but I work for IT companies. Sure. So anything that is focused on elevating people, education, because obviously education is so important to me. But as I mentioned earlier, the last 2 years, because of the pandemic, because of trying to keep my business growing. I slowed down, and it was tough for me to volunteer less because I think it was more of a commitment and obligation. But I learned that it's okay. It's different seasons in life. Once I grow my business,
Right.
I'm able to go back and even do more.
Right. I agree with that. I have a dear friend who has been a business partner of mine on and off for 40, almost 50 years. We were in and out of many businesses together. We started as competitors, and we grew a friendship and a respect for each other, so we became partners in many, many businesses. And when he retired from his last business and he sold it for quite a lot of money, he decided that we were in the mortgage business, and there was a great need in the Bay Area for people for entry-level technical skills, and but virtually nobody applying for these things. So he looked into the situation, and he found out that there were any number of young kids in the community over there who had not had other formal education, but if properly trained and given the education for the technical entry, could apply and do very well in these things. So he started a pilot program with 50 kids from the inner city. If they listened to him and completed their training, he promised them an opportunity to be hired for $40,000 a year in an entry-level job. He gave them information on how to dress, how to communicate with people, how to get involved with the personal application and interaction. And everyone except one child completed, and he gave them stipends to live on. He says, these kids, they can't afford free education because they have nothing. So he gave them stipends to live on as well. And all but one child completed the course and started the programs, and all of them were hired for entry-level $40,000 a year, and have gone on now 3-4 years later to bigger and more prosperous things. He took that pilot, and his wife became very ill and subsequently died, but he turned it over to another group, and they created a company called First Steps, which now have 5,000 kids across the country in the program. It's remarkable what you could do when you say, I just want to help tomorrow. I just want to help tomorrow. Not I'll do it tomorrow. I want to help tomorrow be there. I want to help with these kids. So that's what you're doing. You're helping, and you're helping to shape and form people. It's wonderful.
Wow. Well, I'm so amazed by that story. I think he's helping like at a bigger scale, but I just love it. I think what he did and he's still doing is amazing.
Yeah, wonderful man. Wonderful man. So we're going to have to wrap up soon, and I want to be able to give you an opportunity to share and say anything you'd like about upcoming events or things that you're working on. So it's yours.
I want to leave everyone with specific messages that I truly believe in. And one of them is, if we think about my grandmother and her vase, and she talked about if there's a crack, the vase is worthless. I want to tell people that our value, our beauty is in our cracks. So anytime we are living our life and we feel that we're not good enough, we made mistakes, or we've had horrible things that happened to us in the past. Many people, they try to hide these things, and instead, let's realize that that's what makes us beautiful. That's what makes us valuable, and to continue to challenge ourselves and not to hide our beauty. The second one is to feel the fear and to take action anyway. And I realize also that there's consequences. I've been living with these consequences for many, many, many years, but it's worth it. And maybe not to take big steps if we're so afraid of risk, but to take small little steps and to learn from them, to face the fear and to continue to challenge ourselves. And then the final message I want to share is that knowledge is light and ignorance is darkness. This is translated from an Arabic phrase, and it is in Arabic, al-ilmu nur wal-jahlu dalam, which means knowledge is light and ignorance is darkness. Because of my education, that brought so much light into my life. That was able to break away the ignorance. And knowledge doesn't have to be just with education. It can be self-reflection. It is giving ourselves, it's self-knowledge, giving ourselves time to learn about who we are, what are our goals, what are we good at, the kind of people we want to surround ourselves with. So all of these they're simple, but they're very powerful lessons that I learned throughout my journey. And the best part about it is it has a powerful ripple effect. When we change our life, when we break that vase, we will never conquer the fear, but when we manage the fear, we're able to inspire others with our experience and our journey. So my message to everyone is keep breaking vases. And I would love to connect with them. I'm on all social media, so reach out. I would love to hear their stories. And I'm glad and thankful that you're going to share my website and my information.
All of your information will be in the show notes. And I encourage everyone, contact her, talk to her, send in your comments, read her work, follow her YouTubes. There are many of them. And she's an amazing person, and she really finds the success at what she's trying to accomplish. And you too can do the same. If you follow and you open up and you dedicate yourself and make an effort, anything is possible. Anything can be done in this world. But I leave you with one lesson in life that I learned a long time ago. Tell someone you love them today. Thank you for tuning into the show. I hope that it resonated with you. It certainly did with me. And I hope it encouraged you to realize the true power of your story. As a reminder, new episodes will be released Wednesday mornings on your favorite podcast apps and also on YouTube as well. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn your notification button on to ensure that you receive updates on new episode releases. I'm grateful for your reviews and your support. The love is certainly felt. Keep it coming. You can reach out to connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, or stop by my website, toeverypageofturning.com. All links are clickable in the show notes for quick access. Do you think that you or someone you know may be our most inspiring guest yet? Let's hope so. Click on our contact page and get in touch on my website and share your story. I look forward to reading each one personally. My best-selling book, To Every Page of Turning, which was published by Mascot Books, is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, and many more popular book retailers. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Till next time, remember that every day is a new opportunity to write your new page in your incredible journey. And it is incredible. You're the only one who has it.